Hey everybody, it's Bob Crossan, Senior Managing Editor for Water and Waste Digest. Today I have an awesome episode for you because I'm talking with Sean Wheatley. He is the Vice President of Operations at American Water for the Military Services Group. We're going to be talking about the American Water Military Services Group, how they operate, and kind of differences, contrasts, comparisons to other facilities and whatnot. So Sean, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, before we started talking on this call, I told you that I wasn't very familiar with your military services group,
Yes,
and I felt bad about that. Could you explain what this group is, how it operates, kind of the functions that it has for American Water?
sure. Yeah, American Water itself, is a very large company, but we are the military services group where we just simply focus on military installations across the country. We currently own and operate the operations at 17 military operations, everything from West Point, New York, all the way to Vandenberg, California, and everything in between.
Wow. So how long has American Water conducted this kind of work?
Well, American Water itself was established back in 1886, but the Military Services Group has been around about 20 years. And we had our first initial base, the first three bases actually were in early 2000. And from there, we have gradually increased to 17 bases. Again, as I said earlier, across the country, where we're serving the men and women in our military services.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking about that, what are some of the benefits? How's that benefited the organizations? I imagine obviously it's a benefit to the bases too to have clean water, but could you talk about some of the benefits on both sides of that equation for both the American Water side as well as those military operations?
Sure, and the benefit to the company itself, to American Water, I would say just the ability to be there with our war fighters, the men and women, their families, being able to serve them and supply, potable water and services to the bases themselves. That's a great benefit to us, and just that niche market of being able to go out and do those things, interact with the soldiers and airmen and all the others that we serve, and being a part of that whole government community, military community. Myself being a veteran, I do understand what it's like to be on those military bases and to be a part of that team. So for American Water to be able to be a part of that and join forces with them as they, conduct their missions across the world or wherever they're working, it's just a great benefit for us to be there. And we're extremely grateful to be a part of that team and allow that opportunity to actually go out and serve, as my definition, serve with them in the utilities market.
Yeah. Now you touched on something there. You said that you are a military veteran, so first of all, thank you for your service. But second of all, I presume, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that you then hire a lot of other military folks to help with these facilities. Is that correct?
We do. We do. Actually, there's quite a few veterans that are a part of our organization, and they bring a unique skill set. One, they understand the military services, they understand how to operate on the bases themselves. They understand the client and all the players there. So, just being able to hire those veterans, they bring a great amount of experience and knowledge to the team. So yes, there are quite a few that work here with us in the military services group as well as American Water in general.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and that can be a challenge for some veterans too to find work when they come back from their deployments and whatnot. So the fact that you guys offer these positions to veterans is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So, and actually, I started my water treatment career in the military back in the early '80s. I was an operator for the United States Army, and then went on to be an instructor for the United States Army, teaching water treatment. So, me having the ability to go back and still serving, as again my definition, still being able to serve in that capacity. I'll tell you, I'm just extremely happy about it, and the work that we're doing as a team on these military bases. It's just a great feeling to still be a part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't have any other words to say. That's just awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit about the like treatment technologies. How do treatment technologies compare and contrast from other municipal operations that American Water operates? Are there differences in size and scale even? I presume that with the bases there might be some changes in operation there.
No, actually, that's not.
Okay.
Water treatment, wastewater treatment is pretty much the same throughout the world. I believe what we bring to the table as American Water is just the attitude of excellence,
Mm.
safety, environmental leadership. We go in with that attitude, and we bring all of those traits from American Water itself, and we just bring those to the basis, and we implement those as we go. So as far as the treatment technologies, we go in and we begin to replace the infrastructure there, the underground infrastructure, the plants themselves, and just being put in the base in a place where we're putting out, great water, and we're giving great service to the individuals at those installations. So as far as treatment technologies themselves, they're pretty standard. Treatment plants, water and wastewater treatment plants, collection systems and distribution systems. We just go in with the attitude, let's make all of the improvements that we can. Let's replace valves, let's replace hydrants, where sometimes we may see piping in the ground that's 50 years old, and we go in and start replacing those things. So as you can imagine, what that does is just immediately improve the quality of service and water that those families have. So that's our approach to it. Again, bringing in our mindset when it comes to safety, environmental leadership. That's what we do as American Water.
Yeah. How about like the size and the scale? I mean, some of these bases are quite large.
Mhm.
How do those compare and contrast with some of the other municipal operations? Because my understanding, you have a wide range in American Water of different sizes of systems.
Sure. And actually, I would say that they're small cities.
Yeah.
Really, if you've ever been on a military installation, it's its own little city there.
Mhm.
Sometimes the population is somewhere around 60,000 people that live on that organization. So they differ in size, of course, as you've indicated.
Mhm.
But they're really just small cities, and they are completely contained, where they have their own water and wastewater systems and their own electrical grids and everything like that. So everything that they need to contain themselves is there, right? And we just come in and to support that effort.
Yeah. Well, so that got me thinking too. So you have like this is all self-contained thing. How important are like smart technologies here? Have you been like understanding those a little bit more, getting that data and using that across different verticals of utilities? You talked about like the electric. Does that compare and contrast with the water data? Do you do things special with that type of thing?
Yeah, we do use a lot of smart technologies across the business. And when we look at across the military bases, so when you look at utility privatization, when this came out in late 1990s, when this came out, the government started to privatize,
Hmm.
the water, the wastewater, as well as the electricity, the gas, and all of those utilities that they used to run themselves. So all of us, in the most part, are there on the bases, and we're doing things to make improvements. And there is some interaction. Yes, there are some interactions between us. And then we would also bring in the housing contractors that have come in to do some work on the military bases. But we specifically focus on the water and the
Hmm.
wastewater and those improvements, and bringing in SCADA and bringing in
Hmm.
GIS activities, and doing all of those things to make improvements, again, to improve the base, the quality of life as best we can for those war fighters and their families that live there.
Yeah, I imagine that makes for great case studies of like, hey, here's what you can actually do to the full potential of using these technologies.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
um,
you're exactly right.
yeah, yeah. What about the partnership itself? So like working directly with the military, being on these bases, how do you guys approach those partnerships? What are there additional considerations that need to be made in terms of that? Yeah, what are some of the potential differences between working on a military base rather than working for a like community municipal community that's more publicly owned in the traditional sense, I suppose.
Yeah, for what I can share, there are a lot of protocols that we must follow. And of course, there are rules, there are regulations, there are safety protocols, there are environmental protocols. So all of those things come into play when we enter into a military installation. But the way we approach those things is to go in and, one, of course, follow the rules, right? And be a part of that community and adapt to that community, learn what they do, where they need our help, what we can provide for them. So that's our approach. And of course, there are a lot of protocols that we definitely can't share and talk about that the military
Hmm.
themselves use to control base access and those things of that nature. But we just go in to be a part of the team, be a part of the family, and how can we move this project forward, you know,
Mhm.
from a water and wastewater capacity? How can we move it forward? How can we make a difference? How can we make the people that live there, how can we make them feel safe, right, in drinking their water? And relying on the technology and the things that we bring to the table. So that's kind of our approach.
Mhm.
Sorry, a little vague there, but in
No,
some instances we have to be.
yeah, I would totally figure as much. I think just saying in general that there are some protocols that you guys have to follow that probably are different for municipalities. I think that makes sense. I
Yeah.
would assume that would be the case.
Yes, sir.
But I can tell that you have just this extreme passion for this. And
Mhm.
it sounds to me like you guys do a lot of iterative approaches to things as well, like like that continuous improvement.
Mhm.
It's just it's very cool to me. I hope that other municipalities see this type of passion and can bring that to their own work as well, so that it's not just, military bases, it's everything out there.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, and we are ready for that as well. The broader organization of American Water, that's what they do. They go out and they run these systems for the municipalities, and again, in addition to the military side, we do have what we call the regulated side, where we do
Mhm.
work on those local systems and run those local systems and provide maintenance and all of those things. Simply same as we do on the military side.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Sean, it's been a delight to talk to you about this. Like I said, I didn't really know much about this, but clearly the passion is overwhelming. I love that. And for everyone who is watching, we'll make sure to have some links in the video description below so you can learn a little bit more about this. You could probably find all of this on the American Water site as well. But to Sean, once more, thank you so much for being here and talking us through what this military services group is and what you guys do. And um, it's so clear how passionate you are for this. So obviously, it makes sense that you guys would be at the tip of excellence, basically.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. And anytime you would like us to come back and share a little bit more, we'd be more than happy to do so. But again, it's just a great pleasure for us here at American Water to be able to serve the men and women in uniform and provide for their families, especially when they're out and they're deployed and doing different things like that. They can rest assured that their families are safe at home, they are being taken care of, and they're getting quality, water and wastewater services as we go. So again, thank you so much for having me, Bob.
Of course.